Well, hello BookTube, hello book friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel and another video. Today I want to talk to you about the Bookstore challenge. Now this is a challenge that I first saw Charles at CG Rated Books do. He's done it twice in different bookstores, and he didn't specifically tag me to do this. He just did a general, if you want to do this challenge, then please do. And I thought, actually, I do want to do this. But at the time, I was deep into my short Read What You Own challenge. So this was kind of November, December last year. So I said, I want to do this, but it'll have to wait till the Read What You Own challenge is over. And then there was Christmas and New Year and work, and yesterday was the first day I had where right, I'm going to go to the secondhand bookstore, and I'm going to see if they will help me, because it needs you need the bookstore owner or assistant or whatever on side. So yesterday I did this. Now the premise of the challenge is that you go into the bookstore and you ask the owner or assistant, whoever, to pick out some books for you to a specific amount of money. And whatever they pick, you have to buy. You can't refuse a book. The only books you can refuse are books that you already own or have read. And that was my criteria. So I'm just going to plug in my computer, because yesterday or the day before I did a video and it cut out. So yeah, that's the only kind of a specific amount of money, and you can't turn down a book unless you know. Then the idea is they pick out books that obviously you've never read, and so on. Now, I went into the bookstore. The bookstore owner was very happy to help, but didn't want to be on camera, and that was fine. That's completely fine. Would have made a different video if they had been, because we could have sort of filmed the process. So I said, this is what I'm doing. Can you help? And they said, yeah, absolutely. How much do you want to spend? And I said, anywhere between £10 and £20. And I want to have a look generally, and I'll probably buy more books than you pick out anyway. But that's kind of my And then she said, okay, so what sort of books have you read recently? What sort of things do you like? And I said, basically, I've just finished reading Gerald Durrell's latest kind of posthumous autobiography. I quite like spy fiction, particularly Cold War spy fiction, but thrillers in general, natural history in general, mysteries. And I don't know quite what I said, but I kind of reeled off a great big long list of stuff. And then she said, so basically anything, she said. I said, yeah, pretty much. But, those are the things that I read more than. She said, okay, fine. I will find you some books. So she went off to find me some books, and I carried on browsing. And then she came back and said, right, okay, here you go. I've got 3 books, slightly more than 10 quid. And here's what I've picked. And I'm going to share those with you now, because that's kind of the point of the challenge. So the first book she gave me was Wilkie Collins's The Moonstone. Now, I've heard of this, heard of Wilkie Collins, heard of The Moonstone. It's a mystery. I think somebody said it's. T.S. Eliot described The Moonstone as the first, the longest, and the best of modern English detective novels. What's not to like about that? So, classic detective novel, never read, should have read probably. So yeah, I'm that was the first one. So I'm looking forward to reading that. Then she said, "You've been reading Gerald Durrell," you said. I said, "Yes." She said, "Have you ever read anything by his brother?" His brother is Lawrence Durrell, who was quite a famous novelist in his time. And I said, "No." So she gave me this one, which is the Alexandra Quartet. So it's actually four stories, four short novels. It's a fairly hefty volume in total. I know nothing about this. There's nothing on the back for me to read. I haven't had a proper chance to have a look at it. So I don't know what it's about or what they're about. Obviously, I presume they're connected because they've been published as one volume. So yeah, look forward to that. Nothing that is going to open my mind. And then I thought I've really lucked out because she said, "You said you like spy thrillers." She said, "Have you read any John le Carre?" And I said, "Well, actually, yes, lots." She said, "Oh, well, you may have read this one then." And in which case I'll go and pick another one. And she bought out a hardback copy of The Tailor of Panama. She said, "You know what? I've never actually read that. I've seen I think it's Pierce Brosnan film." I said, "I've seen the film, but I've never read the book." She said, "Oh, that's good then. So there you go. That's your third book." So yeah, I'm really pleased with this because I've never read this, and you know I'm quite looking forward to it. So yeah, so those are the three books that I got as part of the bookstore challenge. I really enjoyed it. It was great, and I had a great time browsing in the store. It's a second-hand bookstore, and I bought some other stuff as well, which I'll show you. And yeah, I really enjoyed myself. Had a great sort of hour or so in the store. But yeah, so those are the three. So that's my bookstore challenge. I think it's about 12 quid's worth of books. And I spent a bit more in the store, which I should talk about now. But yeah, so thanks, Charles. There you go. I managed to complete the challenge. If you want to have a go yourself, I'm not going to tag anybody, but if you want to have a go, the idea is go in, find um, a, a friendly bookstore owner, tell them how much you want to spend. You're not allowed to turn anything down unless you've already read it or own it. But yeah, see what happens. You might be surprised. So what did I pick up? Well, I picked up four other books, and three of them are children's books, and one is another book I read at school. And I'm sensing the kind of project I've had in the back of my mind about rereading all of the books I was assigned to read at school is a bit more of a possibility. But I don't know whether I want to do that or not. But we'll see. So the book I picked up, which is one that I was assigned to read at school, is Barry Hines' A Kestrel for a Knave, or Kes, depending on um, depending on what you remember. And this is basically the story of a kind of what's the word? I don't want to say delinquent because he wasn't. A child from a poorer background in the north of England who comes across or finds a baby kestrel and raises it. And this is sort of kind of what happens next. And I think it still might be on the school curriculum. I don't know, can't remember. But certainly, if you were at school in the kind of 70s and 80s, you probably read this as part of your O level, GCSE, whatever was going on, and probably into the 90s as well. And I say it might still be. on the curriculum. But yeah, so I picked that up. I'm intending to read that probably after Lord of the Flies, which is coming up soon. And then I picked up a paperback copy of Oversea Understone by Susan Cooper, and I talked about this in my last video as a book that invokes nostalgia. And the reason I picked this up is because it was it's just that story. So I have the one I've got, volume I've got, is all of the all 5 of the stories that Susan Cooper wrote, and this is just the first story, and it's an illustrated copy, which I'm trying to find. It's an illustrated copy, which is what I remember reading at school. So going even deeper into the nostalgia there. So that was that, and then the final 2 I bought, again, both children's books. One I have read as a child, and one I've never heard of before. And the reason I got them was because they are illustrated by Edward Ardizone, who was quite a renowned children's book illustrator. But before he was a children's book illustrator, he was a war artist during the Second World War. And I've got various volumes of his art, for want of a better term. But I also wanted to collect, and I do collect, his books books by authors who have him as their illustrator, if that makes sense. So this, the first one is the one I haven't heard of before. This is the Land of Green Ginger by Noel Langley. And so if I read again, I know nothing about this. So what happened after Aladdin married his princess and started to live happily ever after? This book tells the story of Aladdin's son, the noble prince, Abu Ali, whose only fault was that he was far too nice, and who was sent by the genie of the lamp to set free a magician from the spell which had turned him into the button-nosed tortoise. So, as I say, it's illustrations by Edward Ardizone, and then the second one, the one I've read before and read as a kid, before I ever even knew who Edward Ardizone was the Otterbury Incident by C.D. Lewis, and I can gently hold open the cover because it's quite fragile. You can see. So he did, and this is again illustrated throughout with line drawings. And this, I'm going to need to read this because this is a really super story. I should know, I wrote it. My name is George and I'm Ted's second in command. Ted is centre forward of the junior 11 at King's School in Otterbury and a first class chap. He's the leader of our company, and the story began with our battle against Toppy's company. So it's basically a story about two groups of, I suppose you'd call them cadets, although they're not. We were so worked up in the excitement of victory that Nick Yates kicked a football through a big window of the classroom next to the headmaster's study. When the head said we'd have to pay for it, he looked like a puppy with distemper. He had no more hope of raising the £4, 14 shillings and sixpence in a week than of going to the moon. So we signed a piece with Toppy's company and planned Operation Glazier to get the money for Nick. And if you want to know how it worked and what happened after it was over, you'd better get cracking on chapter 1. So there you go. Basically, I think they discover some, I can't really remember, some crime taking place, and they beat the bad guys basically. So yeah, but bought for the illustrations. I have got another copy of this, but it's a hardcover without illustrations on the cover. It's got illustrations inside. It probably would have had a dust jacket, I suspect, and it's lost that. So yeah, so I'm really pleased with that. So I'm thoroughly happy with my trip to the bookshop, and the outcome of my bookstore challenge. So that's it. If you have been, thanks for watching, and I will speak to you again soon. Take care now. Bye bye.